In this video, we're going to show you how to install a hull extension made by ProWatercraft, specifically for the SXi Pro. I'm Chris Hagist, and I'm going to walk you through these steps. First thing I want to show you is all the products that come with this kit. Get the hull extenders, the left and the right has the exhaust hole. So in this kit, because of how Kawasaki's exhaust flange is designed, we've made a piece that will slip into the hull extension and into the back of the hull, kind of like the flap that's on the back of your SXi Pro. You'll get 6 screws, and this is a look at the tools and other items I suggest for this build. This is our proven silicone. It's a great adhesive, had awesome success with it. And then you got your normal screwdrivers, Allen wrench, drill bits, and I have my silicone gun ready to go. So let's show you how to install this. So I suggest working on the left side first. It's kind of the easiest side. Of course, you have to remove the exhaust to fit that piece. So on this product, we definitely suggest cleaning up the back, make sure there's nothing on here. Everything is nice and there's no big bumps. You can also sand this a little bit. The back of your hole needs to be sanded. You'll see I already have 3 holes here. That's because I have fitted these 2 there, but yours will not have 3 holes. So the process, the way this goes is basically you're gonna wanna put this up against the hull, and you'll feel the little edges on each side of the hull extension kind of grab the back of the hull. You wanna make sure that it's true to the back of the ski and on the sides, so it doesn't hurt to have a ruler. But wherever those little edges kind of locate. Now, the next step is kind of to hold it in place. Now, sometimes a little trick that makes it easier, I'll take like a Sharpie, and I'll kind of hold it in my ideal spot, about like right there, and then I'll trace on the back of the ski a little bit, and to give me a line. So when I go to drill, I make sure I kind of still follow that Sharpie line here. You go almost all the way up there. That'll really give me a good indication as I'm drilling that I'm keeping the hull extension exactly where I want it on the back of the ski. So I got my 3 screws for this side. Here's the drill bit we're gonna use. This is what we suggest. It's a 4.5 millimeter or if standard 0.191. So put that right there. That's the drill bit I suggest. You'll know when you put the screw in, if it goes too easy, the drill bit's too big. If you're screwing into it with the screw and it's kind of tightening up and binding, possibly that needs to be a little bit bigger, so you have to find the right drill bit in your garage. So, okay, so I am looking at my guideline here, and now I'm gonna go ahead and start from the center. So you drill your first one, right? You'll blow off the dust. Obviously, I've already done it, but I'm kind of showing you how I did it earlier. Your provided screws. Now I'm just doing 1 screw at a time. I'll drill and then I'll screw it. And then I'll move on to drilling the next hole. So it's 1 at a time. Don't drill all and then try to align the screws up. It'll shift it over and it won't line up the way you want. So, okay, so I got my first screw in. Now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna drill the next hole. I'll probably go for the inside here. There you go. It's really as simple as that. At this step, I'm gonna go to the right side, and then we'll talk about how we take that off. After we do the right side, we're gonna come back to both sides, take them off, and then we're gonna silicone them back on. So we'll get to that next step, but let's go to this right side, remove the stock flap, and then we'll kind of drill and screw, and I'll show you those tricks as well. So This model comes with some sort of exhaust flap. It may or may not be there on your ski, so it's a 5mm Allen. There we go. And behind the flap, you're gonna see 3 screws. Basically, they're just threaded into the back of the hull, just like what we did over there. But we're gonna remove these screws, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. Now, getting this out, really the next step is just kind of prying between the hull and the flange here, and some skis may be more difficult than others. This one I've already removed, so it's gonna come off pretty easy, but depending on how old your watercraft is, or if any of this area has been damaged or modified, you'll have to look out for that and do your best. But there's no other clamp inside. You're really just gonna get some sort of, you can use a screwdriver or a plastic wedge. You obviously don't want to damage your hull, but just carefully get it in here. Work it left to right. It's pretty tight, so I gotta assume you guys, you can spray some WD-40 in there. That'll help a little bit. There you go, there's the stock piece. So this is not intended to go back on. This and the flap will be something you set aside. Now we have the exhaust side. Now, you'll notice on the exhaust side, this is kind of like a 2-piece deal. And the reason for that is where Kawasaki's positioned this hole on the back of the hull is kind of inconsistent. We've seen it up, we've seen it down, and left and right. So we made it so this little sleeve in here kind of has a little bit of play. Now if yours is a lot higher than the one we're working with here, or lower, you know, you may need to open up this hole on your own with like a file or something to make sure that it kind of lines up. So the idea is you're going to use this piece here to kind of center this guy, right? Pushing it in. The hull extension is going to, again, like it has little ledges, so it's going to wrap around the sides of the hull and a little bit of the bottom and kind of show you where it's going to go. Now, those original 3 screws, they provided some great holes that we're gonna utilize our screws in. Now, you may not have to drill them bigger, so you'll have to see how your ski is and start with the bottom one. And obviously I've already installed these and removed them to do this video, so mine will go in pretty easy, but again, you wanna make sure that when you're putting in the provided screws from ProWatercraft, that they don't bind as they go in. So if they're binding, you have to open up the hole just a little bit, or if it blows through and like it's totally not usable, you may have to relocate and make a new hole so you can screw into the back of the hull to hold this on for our next step. So I'm just gonna throw these screws in, screw it down, make sure everything fits. Once it fits, then we're gonna remove to silicone. There we go, there's a look at them. It's kind of like a dry fit. I see everything's lined up. My guideline here I did earlier is a lot nicer. I can do one at the top here on the right-hand side above the exhaust if I wanted. But so the next step is we're gonna remove them, clean everything, and then silicone them on. Okay, so I got everything cleaned. Pretty much go time. You're gonna silicone it, make sure you get a good bead around the outside, you know, you wanna pump some silicone into the hole where the screws were. And you should expect a little bit of squeeze out all the way around this. It's kind of telling you that it's got a complete bond. Oh yeah, it's squeezed all the way along the side and underneath, all the way over to the right plate. So that's awesome. Take my finger here and just kind of clean off the edge. You don't want to leave this. It's definitely gonna create some handling issues if you leave this blob of silicone along the side. So it is super important that you just get it as smooth as possible, so you don't feel or you don't see any big globs of silicone. Now on the top, you just sort of smear it across the top. You don't have to really dig it all out. The more the better on the top side there. So I'll go on to the right side, which is the exhaust. A little bit different situation on this one. Of course, still you want to pump the silicone into the holes. These are the original Kawasaki holes. So you also have this exhaust flange. So this is where you'll kind of want to, this is the part where you really want to make sure that you seal up this exhaust area. You don't want any water coming in. So we're going to use a good amount of silicone right there, at least all along the flange area. And then of course on the back of the hull extension that I already cleaned. Okay, so it's going on really nice. This sleeve here is really what's going to help locate the hull extension and the exhaust together. So I'm going to carefully push this in. You might see a little silicone squeeze out of the inside. Rubber mallet to tap it forward. Everything should sit really nice and flush. You know, you should look at it and realize like the whole thing is coming together really nice. If you're fighting with a certain area, it definitely means that you might have to alter it a little bit. Like I talked about, that Kawasaki exhaust hole doesn't consistently come in the same place in every skeef. Unfortunately, we have to look at that and make sure that detail is important. Where that exhaust sits is how it's going to dictate where the hull extension flows with the bottom of the hull. Okay, once again, like I put enough silicone on there that it's squeezed out of the side and a little bit underneath, which looks great. It's going to really help it stay on the back of the hull. And across the top, you want to make sure that you just really you don't want silicone everywhere. You don't want it on the side of the hull or on your bumper or get on your ride plate. It's going to get on your hands. You can use gloves. I'm just sort of going raw right here, but yeah, it looks really nice. It came out good. It looks like it's lined up quite well to the bottom of the hull. And that's really what you're up against. It really is an easy install. You know, it helps to see these videos and look at these little tips and just be prepared. Make sure everything is in your reach when you go to do this kind of thing. Always helpful having an extra hand or another set of eyes. So it's, like I said before, you'll get the most out of this product when it's like true with the bottom of the hull. So that's your little install on our 750 SXI Pro. Thanks, subscribe, like, share it. Appreciate all the love you can do. Thank you.